Dusk of Arizona's Sonoran desert, the Sinaloa Cartel's strike force emerges from the heat mirage. Weapons hot, they see 4 American trucks carrying millions in medical supplies. Easy prey. What they don't see are the men behind those wheels, battle-hardened veterans of Fallujah and Kandahar who've spent a decade dodging IEDs and ambushes. These former Marines and Army Rangers didn't leave their combat instincts in the sandbox. They've prepared for this, transforming their 18-wheelers into rolling fortresses and their supply route into a kill zone. As the first shots crack, across the highway, the cartel is about to learn they haven't sprung a trap. They've walked into one. But before we jump back into the video, let us know where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow, I've got something really special for you. And now, back to the video. The Arizona sun hung low over Route 86, casting long shadows across the empty desert highway as Jack Reynolds checked his mirrors for the 100th time. 20 years in the Marines had ingrained situational awareness deeper than breathing. Behind his truck's wheel, those same instincts that kept him alive through 3 tours in Fallujah now screamed that something wasn't right. "Distance check, gentlemen," he transmitted through their encrypted tactical net. Disguised as normal trucker, radio chatter, 200 meters, holding steady. Mike Chen's voice came back, his second truck maintaining perfect tactical spacing. 300, clear visual on sweep zones. Tom Roberts in the third vehicle. 400, rear security intact. Sarah, Martinez, bringing up their defense. To any observer, they looked like a normal medical supply convoy. 4 18-wheelers carrying vital pharmaceuticals across cartel territory. But these weren't ordinary truckers. Each driver was a decorated combat veteran who had spent years mastering the art of surviving ambushes. Reynolds studied the terrain ahead through eyes trained by decades of combat experience. The highway's natural choke point 2 miles ahead was perfect for an ambush, which is exactly why they had prepared it as a counter-ambush position months ago. Movement on the ridgeline, Martinez reported quietly. Her years as an Army Ranger sniper had taught her to spot the subtle signs others missed. Multiple vehicles staging under camouflage nets. Looks like our intel was good. Reynolds allowed himself a small smile. The cartel had been watching their routes for weeks, preparing what they thought would be a perfect ambush. They had no way of knowing that every reconnaissance mission, every staging position, every tactical preparation had been carefully monitored. Through concealed cameras and sensors disguised as normal trucker gear, their convoy maintained comprehensive surveillance of the surrounding desert. What appeared to be regular cargo trucks had been subtly modified into rolling fortresses, reinforced armor hidden beneath normal panels, weapon ports concealed behind standard vents, sophisticated communications, masked as civilian radio equipment. "Control, this is lead," Reynolds transmitted to their hidden command post 50 miles back. "Predicted contact point in 10 minutes. All elements in position?" "A firm lead," came the response from James Cooper, their tactical coordinator. "Surveillance confirms multiple vehicles with heavy weapons. Estimate 30+ hostiles staging for ambush. QRF standing by at waypoints, Charlie and Echo." The quick reaction force, more combat veterans positioned in concealed locations along their route, represented insurance against unexpected developments. But Reynolds was confident his 4-truck team could handle whatever the cartel brought. Remember, he instructed his drivers as they approached the chosen ground. "Let them think their ambush is working. Standard scatter protocol on my mark. Transform their kill zone into our engagement area." His team acknowledged with professional precision. Each driver had spent years perfecting tactical vehicle operations in combat zones. Now those same skills would teach the cartel why you never ambush men who had mastered the art of counter-ambush warfare. The sun dipped lower, painting the desert blood red as 30 cartel gunmen prepared to spring their trap. They were about to learn a harsh lesson about the difference between ambushing civilians and engaging combat veterans who had spent careers surviving far worse. The cartel sprang their ambush with professional precision. 2 gun trucks roared out from concealed positions, their mounted .50 calibers opening up on what they thought were vulnerable cargo vehicles. Simultaneously, RPG teams emerged on the ridgelines while blocking vehicles moved to cut off escape routes. It was a perfectly executed ambush. Against civilian truckers, it would have been devastatingly effective. But these weren't civilian truckers. "Execute scatter protocol," Reynolds transmitted calmly as .50 caliber rounds sparked harmlessly off his truck's concealed armor. "Show them why you never ambush combat veterans." His 4-truck convoy responded with the fluid precision that came. From years of tactical driving in combat zones, Mike Chen's truck accelerated suddenly, breaking formation to the right. The maneuver looked like panic to the attackers, but was actually positioning his vehicle for optimal fields of fire. The civilian cargo panels dropped away, revealing military-grade weapon ports. Tom Roberts swung his 18-wheeler hard left, expertly drifting the massive vehicle into a defensive position that covered both the highway and elevated approaches. What appeared to be normal cargo doors concealed sophisticated heavy weapons. Sarah Martinez maintained rear security, her truck's broken-down appearance masking the fact that it was a mobile sniper platform with interlocking fields of fire over the entire engagement zone. Reynolds watched through multiple camera feeds as the cartel force committed fully to their attack. Their confidence, built on successfully ambushing civilian targets, led them directly into the trap. "They're moving into primary kill zones," Martinez reported, her Army Ranger sniper experience evident in her calm assessment. "All approaches covered. Range cards confirmed. Control, we have full containment," Reynolds transmitted to Cooper at their command post. "Execute counter-ambush phase 1. Through concealed cameras, they watched the cartel gunmen realizing their mistake. The trucks they thought were vulnerable cargo vehicles had transformed into fortified fighting positions. Every escape route they'd planned now channeled them into pre-ranged engagement zones. "Multiple targets entering Sector 2, Chen reported, as his M240 machine gun engaged cartel vehicles trying to maneuver. His experience in Marine Force recon had taught him exactly how to turn terrain features into tactical advantages. "RPG teams shifting position on the ridge," Roberts added, his weapons tracking the movement. 20 years in Army Special Forces had given him an instinctive understanding of how to control elevated approaches. Reynolds watched the cartel force's tactical cohesion beginning to crack. Their carefully planned ambush was falling apart as they discovered their targets weren't helpless civilians, but experienced combat veterans fighting from prepared positions. "Control, initiate phase 2, he ordered. Concealed charges, planted, months ago during routine truck maintenance stops, detonated beneath the cartel's blocking vehicles. The explosions weren't meant to kill, but to deny them tactical mobility and force them into pre-selected kill zones. Vehicle-mounted heavies suppressed," Martinez reported, as her precision rifle systematically eliminated .50 cal gunners. Shifting to command elements. The cartel force was learning the hard way why veterans were lethal in tactical engagements. Their superior numbers meant nothing against defenders who had spent careers mastering combat operations. Their heavy weapons were useless against vehicles tactically modified by men who had survived countless IED attacks. "They're trying to disengage," Chen observed, as cartel gunmen began seeking escape routes. "Breaking into small teams, looking for exfil paths." "Negative," Reynolds replied. "Maintain containment. Let's finish teaching them why you don't ambush men who learned counter-ambush warfare in combat zones." Through their command net, Cooper provided constant tactical updates. QRF teams holding blocking positions. No reinforcements approaching. Local authorities have been advised to maintain distance until situation resolves. The sun had fully set now, but sophisticated thermal imaging showed the cartel force dissolving into chaos. What had seemed like an easy attack on medical supply trucks had become a masterclass in tactical warfare. "Status report," Reynolds requested as the shooting began to diminish. 8 technicals disabled, Chen reported. "Cruise combat ineffective. RPG. Teams neutralized on ridge approaches," Roberts added. "Command elements eliminated," Martinez confirmed. "Remainder attempting to surrender." "No movement at perimeter," Cooper concluded from the command post. Reynolds allowed himself a grim smile. The cartel had brought 30 experienced gunmen to ambush what they thought were vulnerable civilian truckers. Instead, they had walked into a perfectly executed counter-ambush by combat veterans who had spent careers mastering this type of warfare. "All teams, maintain security," he instructed, while watching surrendering cartel members through thermal imaging. "Tactical situations aren't over until fully resolved." His drivers acknowledged with professional precision, their vehicles maintaining interlocking fields of fire, even as federal tactical teams began approaching their position. Years of combat experience had taught them to never assume an engagement was complete until officially secured. In the command center 50 miles away, Cooper tracked the broader implications spreading through cartel communications. Ambush force not responding. Multiple vehicles disabled. No response from command elements. Urgently requesting guidance regarding convoy status. The message was clear. The cartels had just learned a harsh lesson about the difference between ambushing civilians and engaging combat veterans. Sometimes, the most effective tactical response came from those who had spent careers perfecting the art of turning ambushes against their attackers. The DEA's mobile command post, established a safe distance from the ambush site, hummed with activity as federal agents processed the night's events. Special Agent Diana Torres studied the tactical overlays provided by Cooper's surveillance systems, her 20 years of cartel operations experience evident in her measured assessment. "This is remarkable," she admitted, watching high-resolution footage of the brief but devastating engagement. "Your team turned a textbook cartel ambush into a perfect counter-ambush. Every shot documented, every position precisely prepared, every response professionally executed." Reynolds sipped coffee while maintaining tactical awareness, even with federal teams securing the area. Old habits, ingrained through decades of combat operations, didn't fade just because official authorities had arrived. "We've had 6 months to prepare since first detecting their surveillance of our routes," he explained, gesturing toward the highway's tactical features. "Every stop point serves multiple purposes. Those maintenance areas where they thought we were vulnerable, actually pre-positioned firing positions. The breakdown zones they planned to trap us in, engineered kill zones with interlocking fields of fire." Through her earpiece, updates continued streaming as her teams processed prisoners and documented the scene. 11 vehicles disabled, 23 confirmed KIA, 7 more wounded in custody. Heavy weapons cache recovered. "Your tactical preparation is incredible," Torres noted, watching multiple camera angles of the brief firefight. "We've been building a case against this cartel cell for months. This gives us everything we need to shut down their entire regional operation." "Cooper," Reynolds called to his tactical coordinator, "show the agent our full surveillance package." Cooper approached with another tablet, his unassuming appearance belying his extensive special operations intelligence background. "We've maintained comprehensive monitoring since detecting their initial reconnaissance. Every surveillance attempt, every staging position, every pattern of operation recorded and analyzed." The tablet displayed an intricate web of cartel movements throughout the region. The veterans hadn't just defeated an ambush, they'd been quietly gathering intelligence on the entire organization. "Those routine maintenance stops," Cooper continued, "actually signals intelligence collection. The regular breakdowns, thermal, imaging of their movement patterns. Even our delivery schedules were choreographed to encourage them to see us as an easy target." Torres studied the data with growing appreciation. Her task force had spent months trying to map the cartel's regional infrastructure. Reynolds' team had handed them a complete intelligence package wrapped in probable cause. "Ma'am," a DEA tactical operator jogged up, his expression urgent. "You need to see what we found in their vehicles." The group moved to where federal agents were documenting the cartel convoy's contents. The lead vehicle's reinforced trunk contained mission plans that revealed darker intentions than simple robbery. "This wasn't just about stealing medical supplies," Torres observed grimly, cataloging detailed surveillance of multiple cargo routes. "They were testing tactics for a broader campaign targeting supply lines, using successful ambushes to systematically cut off entire regions." Reynolds' expression remained neutral, but his team exchanged knowing glances. They had suspected the cartel's wider intentions, which was why this trap had been engineered for maximum effect. "Control." Martinez's voice crackled through their tactical net. "We're getting movement on thermal at the western approach. Multiple heat signatures approaching on foot." "Cartel reinforcements," Cooper confirmed, checking his surveillance feeds. "Looks like their backup team, probably waiting to support the main ambush." The veterans shifted with silent efficiency, weapons orienting toward the new threat. Even with federal authorities on scene, they maintained their tactical discipline and readiness. "Your dessert, your call." Torres keyed her radio. "Your decision, Mr. Reynolds." "Martinez," Reynolds instructed calmly, "demonstrate why they should reconsider that approach." A single shot rang out from Martinez's position in the modified truck. Seconds later, Cooper's thermal imaging showed the approaching group scattering, in panic as their lead element encountered precision fire. "Warning shot impacted 5 meters in front of Point Man," Martinez reported with professional satisfaction. "They're withdrawing back into the canyon." "Agent Torres," Reynolds suggested, "you might want to have your helicopters check the western approach. I suspect you'll find more cartel vehicles staged for their second wave." Torres was already coordinating with her air assets, directing them to investigate the area. Martinez had indicated. Within minutes, the radio crackled with confirmation. Command, Air 3. Multiple vehicles located at the given coordinates. Suspects fleeing south at high speed. As federal agents moved to intercept the reinforcement group, the veterans maintained their defensive positions. Years of combat experience had taught them that fluid situations often produced unexpected developments. "Boss," Cooper called from his surveillance position. "You should see what we found on their tactical communications. Looks like this operation went higher up their chain than we thought." Reynolds joined him at the monitoring setup, where Cooper had already cracked the cartel's encrypted channels. The messages and documents revealed an operation sanctioned by senior leadership. "They've been watching our routes for weeks," Cooper explained, scrolling through surveillance photos. But they completely misread what they were seeing. Thought we were just civilian truckers making regular deliveries. Even our tactical preparations looked like normal maintenance and breakdowns. The cartel's intelligence failure was understandable. The veterans had spent years perfecting their cover as simple cargo haulers. Every tactical movement disguised as routine trucking. Every firing position concealed within normal vehicles. Even their weapons were carefully hidden inside legitimate equipment. "Show me their operational planning," Reynolds requested, studying the documents Cooper had accessed. The cartel's ambush scheme demonstrated their fatal underestimation of the convoy's capabilities. They had prepared to overwhelm civilian truckers, bringing heavy weapons to ensure quick submission. Instead, they had encountered a perfectly prepared counter-ambush position manned by elite combat veterans. They had secondary teams staged at 3 locations, Cooper indicated on the tactical map, planning to support the main ambush and cut off any escape. "Didn't realize we'd already mapped their most likely support positions and pre-ranged every approach route." Reynolds nodded with professional appreciation. The cartel had planned a textbook highway ambush, exactly as he'd expected. Their predictability had allowed his team to prepare the perfect counter. Each veteran had brought unique combat expertise to the operation. Mike Chen's experience in Marine Force Recon had taught him how to turn vehicles into mobile fighting positions. His truck's modifications demonstrated why combat drivers were lethal in tactical engagements. Tom Roberts' 20 years in Army Special Forces gave him unmatched expertise in unconventional warfare. His understanding of terrain and tactical positioning had helped engineer perfect kill zones along their routes. Sarah Martinez's background as an Army Ranger sniper made her the ideal rear security element. Her ability to detect threats and engage targets at long range kept their convoy protected. James Cooper's special operations intelligence work enabled them to gather unprecedented information about cartel activities. His surveillance systems turned routine cargo trucks into sophisticated monitoring stations. As night settled over the desert, federal agents continued processing the scene of cartel ambition, meeting combat experience. The veterans maintained security, professionals who understood that tactical situations remained fluid until fully resolved. Through sophisticated surveillance, they watched the ripple effects spreading through cartel operations across 3 states. Their perfect counter-ambush had shattered more than one cartel team. It had demonstrated why targeting cargo convoys might be significantly more dangerous than anticipated. The veterans had shown why decades of combat experience made them uniquely suited for this type of operation. Their diverse backgrounds combining to create a tactical response that rivaled military operations while appearing completely ordinary. Sometimes the most effective victories looked exactly like routine cargo delivery, right up until they reminded everyone why you never ambush men who had spent careers mastering the art of tactical warfare. 300 miles south of the ambush site, in a luxurious cartel compound near the Mexican border, Regional Commander Diego Ramirez watched surveillance footage of his elite tactical team's complete destruction. Through multiple cameras mounted on the disabled vehicles, he witnessed what should have been impossible. 30 experienced gunmen with heavy weapons being systematically dismantled by what appeared to be simple truck drivers. "Play it again," he instructed his intelligence chief, studying the precision with which the convoy had transformed from vulnerable target into deadly counter-ambush. "Show me how civilian truckers defeated our best tactical unit." But these weren't civilian truckers, as his men had learned too late. The fluid vehicle maneuvers, the interlocking fields of fire, the perfect tactical positioning, everything screamed military expertise at the highest level. Back at the ambush site, Reynolds' team maintained tactical security, while federal agents processed evidence. Through their sophisticated surveillance network, they monitored the cartel leadership's growing realization of their catastrophic error. "They're starting to understand," Cooper reported from his monitoring station, displaying intercepted communications, multiple emergency meetings being convened. Orders to suspend all highway operations pending complete tactical review. The screens showed increasing chaos in cartel communications. All ambush operations immediately suspended. Full assessment of target screening protocols required. Urgent review of all supply route intelligence. Extreme caution advised regarding cargo convoys. Good. Reynolds nodded with grim satisfaction. Let them waste time questioning every truck on the highway. Sometimes the psychological impact matters more than the tactical victory. His veterans had spent 6 months preparing this counter-ambush, each bringing unique combat expertise to. The Operation Mike Chen demonstrated why Marine Force recon drivers were lethal in vehicle operations. His truck's transformation from apparent cargo hauler to mobile fighting position had been a masterpiece of tactical engineering. Show me the vehicle modifications, Reynolds requested. Cooper brought up detailed schematics. Reinforced armor, panels concealed beneath normal truck exterior, weapon ports disguised as standard ventilation systems, advanced communications hidden inside civilian radio equipment, military-grade surveillance integrated with normal trucker gear. Even the cargo was strategically loaded to provide additional ballistic protection. The cartel never understood what they were actually seeing, Chen explained while maintaining security. Thought our regular maintenance was just normal trucking. Never realized we were preparing counter-ambush positions and measuring exact firing angles. Tom Roberts' Special Forces background had transformed routine delivery routes into perfect kill zones. Every terrain feature, every choke point, every apparent vulnerability, engineered to channel attackers into prepared engagement areas. Walk me through the route preparations, Reynolds instructed. Roberts manipulated the tactical displays. We identified their most likely ambush points through terrain analysis, then subtly modified each location during regular delivery stops, concealed charges under road repairs, pre-positioned ammunition caches inside maintenance markers, even used broken-down truck positioning to influence their tactical choices. Sarah Martinez's sniper expertise had provided the overwatch that kept their convoy protected. Her position, in the rear truck maintaining perfect fields of fire over every approach. Multiple firing positions prepared at each stop point, she explained. Used normal cargo operations to establish range cards and elevation data. The cartel thought they were watching routine delivery patterns, never realized they were walking into pre-ranged kill zones. James Cooper's Special Operations Intelligence background enabled unprecedented surveillance of cartel activities. His monitoring systems transforming cargo trucks into sophisticated command centers. Show me their operational security failures, Reynolds requested. Cooper brought up detailed analysis. They used consistent reconnaissance patterns, predictable communications protocols, standard cartel tactical doctrine, made it easy to track their preparation and anticipate their assault plan. The screens showed how thoroughly they had compromised cartel operations. Surveillance team movements mapped and recorded. Tactical communications intercepted and decoded. Staging areas identified and monitored. Even their vehicle maintenance patterns revealed operational timelines. Through their command net, they continued monitoring the broader implications spreading through cartel leadership. The complete defeat of their elite tactical unit had shattered more than one ambush team. It had demonstrated why attacking cargo convoys might be lethally dangerous. They're pulling back all offensive operations, Cooper reported, tracking communications. Complete stand-down of tactical teams ordered. Every highway operation suspended pending review. Agent Torres studied the tactical displays with growing appreciation. You haven't just defeated one ambush. You've completely disrupted their ability to interdict supply lines. They'll never be able to trust their tactical superiority against cargo convoys again. That was the objective, Reynolds acknowledged. Let them think civilian truckers are easy targets. Encourage them to commit their best assault teams. Then, demonstrate why combat veterans are force multipliers against conventional opponents. The desert night had grown quiet as his team maintained security. Through sophisticated surveillance, they watched the ripple effects spreading through cartel operations across the region. Regional commanders demanding explanation for catastrophic failure. Tactical teams refusing highway interdiction missions. Intelligence units frantically reviewing all convoy assessments. Operations officers questioning every potential target. Boss, Cooper called out, monitoring long-range communications. Looks like they've identified who we really are. Cartel leadership is not happy about engaging retired special operations personnel. The screens showed panic spreading through their command structure as they realized the full magnitude of their error. These weren't civilian truckers, but highly trained combat veterans who had spent careers mastering tactical warfare. Reynolds, allowed himself a small smile as he watched the cartel's operations dissolving into chaos. Sometimes the most effective victory was psychological rather than purely tactical. They could replace their lost gunmen and vehicles, but they could never recover their shattered confidence in highway operations. Maintain full security protocols, he instructed his team. But well done. You've just shown why experience and preparation will always beat superior numbers and firepower. The Arizona Stars wheeled overhead as his veterans continued their vigilance. To any observer, they appeared to be simple truck drivers delivering medical supplies, but they had demonstrated why you never ambush men who had spent careers mastering the art of turning ambushes against their attackers. Sometimes the most effective tactical victories looked exactly like routine cargo delivery, right up until they reminded everyone why combat experience was the ultimate force multiplier. 2 days after the devastating defeat of their ambush force, Reynolds's sophisticated surveillance network detected the first signs of cartel retaliation. Multiple vehicles converging on desert routes, helicopters conducting high-altitude reconnaissance, all the indicators of a massive operation being hastily assembled. They're mobilizing everything they've got, Cooper reported from the command center concealed in their lead truck. His monitors tracked movement across 3 states. I count at least 20 vehicles moving in coordinated patterns. Looks like they're pulling in assets from multiple territories. Reynolds studied the tactical displays with cold satisfaction. The cartel's response was exactly what he'd predicted, a massive show of force to demonstrate they couldn't be challenged. But desperation had made them sloppy. Show me their approach vectors, he requested. Cooper manipulated the feeds. 3 main elements converging from different directions. Heavy weapons mounted on technicals. They're abandoning tactical sophistication in favor of overwhelming numbers. Martinez's voice crackled through their secure communications. Thermal is picking up vehicle-mounted 50 cals and what looks like mortars. They're planning to hit us with everything they've got. Of course they are, Reynolds replied with grim satisfaction. Their entire operational doctrine is built on being untouchable. We didn't just kill their men, we shattered their mystique of invincibility. Now they have to respond with maximum force or risk losing control of their territory. The screens showed an enormous cartel force mobilizing, easily 100 gunmen with heavy weapons support. They were abandoning their usual careful tactics in favor of brute force intimidation. All teams, sound off, Reynolds transmitted. Full status checks before we proceed. His veterans responded with practiced efficiency. Chen here. Truck 1, prepped and ready. All defensive systems active. Roberts in 2. Counter-ambush protocols set. Additional supplies distributed. Martinez on overwatch. Long-range systems calibrated. All approaches covered. Cooper at command and control. Full. Surveillance active. No blind spots. Their convoy had been further modified since the first engagement. To approaching cartel forces, they still looked like routine medical supply trucks. The enemy had no way of knowing that every aspect of their assault had been anticipated and prepared for. Remember, Reynolds addressed his team. They're coming with pure force this time. No subtlety, no tactical finesse, just overwhelming numbers and firepower. That makes them predictable. Through their sophisticated command center, they watched the cartel force continuing its approach. Their first defeat had shaken their tactical doctrine to its core. Now they were reverting to what they knew best, using superior numbers and firepower to overwhelm resistance. What they couldn't know was that Reynolds' team had spent careers training for exactly this type of threat. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent wasn't the one with the most guns, but the one with the most experience. Initiate rolling counter-ambush, Reynolds ordered, as his team prepared to demonstrate why quality would always triumph over quantity in tactical engagements. Let's remind them what happens when you corner combat veterans. The Arizona night grew darker as 100 cartel gunmen moved to intercept what they thought was just another medical supply convoy. But these trucks had been engineered by men who had written the book on tactical vehicle operations, and they were about to teach another harsh lesson about underestimating combat experience. The cartel force initiated their attack with overwhelming firepower, heavy weapons opening up from multiple positions as their vehicles moved to surround the convoy. 50 caliber rounds and mortar shells filled the desert night, the display of force meant to shatter any hope of resistance before they closed for the kill. But Reynolds's veterans had survived far worse in combat zones around the world. Maintain formation, he instructed calmly as his team's modified trucks absorbed the barrage without damage. Let them commit fully to the assault. Every shot tells us their positions. Every movement brings them deeper into our kill zones. Through sophisticated surveillance, they watched the cartel force deploying with more enthusiasm than tactical sense. Multiple heavy weapons teams establishing firing positions, Cooper reported. 350 cals on ridgelines, mortar teams setting up in the wash to our south, combat vehicles moving to block escape routes. They're not maintaining proper dispersion, Martinez observed from her elevated position in the rear truck. Her precision rifle tracking priority targets through advanced optics. No security elements, no proper spacing. Just trying to get as many shooters as possible into position. Reynolds allowed himself a cold smile. The cartel's first defeat had shattered their tactical discipline. Now they were responding with pure rage and superior numbers, abandoning proper military doctrine in favor of overwhelming force. Execute rolling thunder, he ordered, as the trap reached perfection. Show them why combat veterans are force multipliers in mobile warfare. What followed was a masterclass in tactical vehicle operations that would be studied in military academies. For years to come, Martinez's precision rifle spoke first, each shot carefully chosen for maximum strategic impact. The cartel's heavy weapons crews, bunched around their guns without proper security, never knew what hit them. 8 shots in rapid succession eliminated their fire support capability. Heavy weapons neutralized, she reported professionally. Shifting to command element vehicles, the cartel force's lack of tactical spacing proved devastating. Their officers, clustered in easily identifiable command vehicles, presented perfect targets for precision fire. 4 more shots disabled their entire command and control capability. Lead elements neutralized, Martinez confirmed. Moving to vehicle interdiction, Mike Chen demonstrated why Marine Force recon drivers were lethal in tactical engagements. His truck's apparent swerving to avoid fire was actually a perfectly executed series of combat maneuvers, positioning for interlocking fields of fire while appearing to be under panic. Multiple targets entering Kill Zone 3, he reported, as concealed weapons engage cartel vehicles trying to establish blocking positions. 8 technicals disabled. Cruise combat ineffective. Tom Roberts' Special Forces experience turned terrain features into tactical advantages. Every piece of cover the cartel thought would provide protection had been pre-ranged and prepared as a kill zone. East element contained, he transmitted. 24 targets neutralized. Remainder falling back into secondary containment areas. Through it all, Cooper's surveillance systems provided perfect tactical awareness. Every cartel movement tracked. Every radio transmission intercepted. Every attempt to gain advantage predicted and countered. They're losing unit cohesion, he reported with professional satisfaction. No coordination between elements, each group just charging forward independently. Reynolds watched through multiple camera feeds as the massive cartel assault dissolved into chaos. 100 gunmen with superior firepower being systematically dismantled by 4 trucks of combat veterans in prepared positions. Remember, he transmitted to his team, maintain fire discipline. Let them waste ammunition trying to suppress positions we're not actually in. Keep pushing them into the engineered kill zones. The cartel force was learning the hard way why quantity rarely beat quality in tactical engagements. Their superior numbers meant nothing against defenders who had spent careers mastering mobile warfare. Their heavy weapons were useless against vehicles modified by men who had survived countless ambushes. Vehicle teams attempting to provide mobile fire support, Cooper announced, moving into positions exactly where we predicted. Initiate Thunder Run, Reynolds ordered. His convoy executed a series of precise tactical movements that looked like random evasive maneuvers to the attackers. But each turn, each acceleration, each apparent panic move was actually positioning. Cartel forces exactly where the veterans wanted them. All elements in position, Cooper confirmed. Ready for Phase 2. Through surveillance cameras, Reynolds watched the cartel force finally realizing the magnitude of their error. Their massive assault, meant to demonstrate unstoppable power, had instead revealed every tactical weakness that superior numbers usually concealed. Status report, he requested as the shooting began to diminish. 40-plus targets neutralized. In West Sector, Chen reported. Similar numbers eliminated in East approaches, Roberts added. Vehicle teams disabled, Martinez confirmed. Command elements removed. Remaining forces losing all tactical coherence, Cooper concluded. In under 20 minutes, 100 cartel gunmen had been systematically dismantled by superior tactics and precision fire. Their attempt at overwhelming force had instead demonstrated why experience and preparation would always triumph over mere numbers. They're breaking, Cooper announced, tracking thermal signatures of cartel forces fleeing in multiple directions. Complete loss of unit cohesion, each team trying to save themselves. Reynolds watched through sophisticated surveillance as the cartel's massive retaliation attempt collapsed into total defeat. Their overwhelming numbers, their superior firepower, their attempt to demonstrate unstoppable force, all of it had been turned against them by veterans who had spent careers mastering this type of warfare. All teams, he transmitted as he watched. The remaining cartel forces beginning to flee. Initiate close-out protocols. Show them one final time why quality operators are force multipliers against any quantity of conventional opponents. The desert night echoed with the sound of precision fire as his veterans systematically eliminated any organized resistance. Each shot carefully chosen, each position precisely prepared, each movement professionally executed. Through their command net, they monitored the broader implications spreading through cartel communications. All units withdraw immediately. Cease all convoy interdiction operations. Complete tactical reassessment required. Extreme caution regarding all highway targets. The message was clear. The cartels had learned a harsh lesson about the difference between engaging civilian targets and combat veterans. Sometimes the most effective tactical response came from those who had spent careers perfecting the art of turning ambushes against their attackers. Reynolds allowed himself a grim smile as his team maintained security. The cartel had brought everything they had: overwhelming numbers, massive firepower, pure determination to erase their previous defeat. All it had earned them was another master class in why some forces were better left unchallenged. Through sophisticated surveillance, they watched the ripple effects spreading through cartel operations across the region. Every tactical unit questioning their capabilities, every enforcer team hesitating to engage convoys, every seemingly vulnerable target now suspected of concealing deadly preparations. The Arizona stars wheeled overhead as his veterans continued their vigilance. To any observer, they appeared to be simple truck drivers delivering medical supplies, but they had demonstrated why you never corner men who had spent careers mastering the art of tactical warfare. Sometimes the most effective victories looked exactly like routine cargo operations, right up until they reminded everyone why combat experience was the ultimate force multiplier. Dawn painted the desert sky blood red as DEA tactical teams moved through the aftermath of the night's engagement. The highway and surrounding terrain told the story of cartel ambition meeting combat experience. Disabled vehicles scattered across attack positions, evidence of precision fire in exactly the right places. The clear signature of veterans who had turned an ambush into a killing ground. Agent Torres surveyed the scene with professional appreciation. Over 100 attackers, she noted, studying the tactical overlays. Heavy weapons, superior numbers, coordinated assault plan, and your 4 trucks just dismantled them. Reynolds maintained tactical awareness, even with federal teams securing the area. 2 decades in combat zones had taught him that situations weren't over until fully resolved. Cooper, he called to his intelligence specialist. Show the agent our full surveillance package. Cooper's fingers danced across multiple screens in their command truck. What appeared to be normal cargo monitoring equipment revealed its true nature. Sophisticated military-grade surveillance systems tracking movement across hundreds of square miles. "We've been watching them prepare this for days," Cooper explained, displaying intercepted communications and thermal imaging. Multiple reconnaissance missions, staging area preparations, tactical planning sessions. They thought they were being careful, never realized every move was being monitored. The screens showed an intricate web of cartel activities throughout the region. The veterans hadn't just defeated an attack, they'd been gathering intelligence on the entire organization. "They're in complete disarray," Cooper continued, monitoring cartel communications. "Regional command structure in chaos, tactical teams refusing convoy interdiction missions. Their entire operational doctrine is collapsing." Martinez's voice crackled through their secure net. "Movement at the western ridgeline. Looks like they're recovery teams trying to salvage vehicles." "Let them," Reynolds replied. "Every disabled truck they retrieve is another reminder of why some targets aren't worth pursuing." Through their sophisticated surveillance, they watched the ripple effects spreading through cartel operations. The devastating defeat of their massive assault force had shattered more than just their tactical capabilities. It had destroyed their fundamental belief in overwhelming force as a guaranteed victory. The sun climbed higher as Agent Torres processed the implications of what these veterans had accomplished. They hadn't just defended a convoy. They had fundamentally changed the dynamics of cartel operations in the entire region. Sometimes the most effective victories looked exactly like routine cargo delivery, right up until they reminded everyone why combat experience was the ultimate tactical advantage. 300 miles south, in a luxurious cartel compound near the Mexican border, Regional Commander Diego Ramirez watched drone footage of his force's catastrophic defeat for the dozenth time. Over 100 of his best men, supported by heavy weapons and overwhelming numbers, had been systematically destroyed by what appeared to be 4 simple cargo trucks. "Play it again," he instructed his intelligence chief, studying the precise way the convoy had transformed from vulnerable target into a perfectly coordinated killing machine. "Show me how civilian truckers eliminated our entire assault force." But these weren't civilian truckers, as his men had learned too late. The fluid vehicle maneuvers, the interlocking fields of fire, the perfect tactical positioning, everything screamed special operations expertise at the highest level. Back at the ambush site, Reynolds' team maintained security while federal agents processed evidence. Through their sophisticated surveillance network, they monitored the cartel leadership's growing realization of their catastrophic error. "They're starting to understand," Cooper reported from his command center, displaying intercepted communications from multiple cartel facilities, emergency meetings being convened across 3 states, all convoy interdiction operations suspended indefinitely, complete review of tactical capabilities ordered. The screens showed chaos spreading through cartel command structure. All highway operations immediately terminated. Full assessment of target screening protocols required. Urgent review of all transport route intelligence. Extreme caution advised regarding any cargo convoys. "Good," Reynolds nodded with grim satisfaction. "Let them waste time questioning every truck on the road. Sometimes the psychological victory matters more than the tactical one." His veterans had spent months preparing their counter-ambush capabilities, each bringing unique combat expertise to the operation. Mike Chen demonstrated why Marine Force recon drivers were lethal in tactical vehicle operations. His truck's transformation from apparent cargo hauler to mobile fighting position had been a masterpiece of combat engineering. "Show me the vehicle modifications," Reynolds requested. Cooper brought up detailed schematics, reinforced armor panels, concealed beneath normal truck exterior, weapon ports disguised as standard ventilation systems, advanced communications hidden inside civilian radio equipment, military-grade surveillance integrated with normal trucker gear, tactical storage compartments built into routine cargo spaces. Even the loads were strategically positioned for additional ballistic protection. The cartel never understood what they were actually seeing, Chen explained while maintaining his sector. Thought our regular maintenance was just normal trucking. Never realized we were preparing firing positions and measuring exact engagement angles. Tom Roberts' Special Forces background had transformed routine delivery routes into perfect kill zones. Every terrain feature, every choke point, every apparent vulnerability engineered to channel attackers into prepared engagement areas. Walk me through the route preparations, Reynolds instructed. Roberts manipulated the tactical displays. We identified their most likely attack points through terrain analysis, then subtly modified each location during regular deliveries, concealed charges under road repairs, pre-positioned ammunition caches inside maintenance markers, even used broken-down truck positioning to influence their tactical choices. Sarah Martinez's sniper expertise had provided the overwatch that kept their convoy protected. Her position, in the rear truck, maintaining perfect fields of fire over every approach. Multiple firing positions prepared at each stop point, she explained. Use normal cargo operations to establish range cards and elevation data. The cartel thought they were watching routine delivery patterns. Never realized they were walking into pre-ranged kill zones. James Cooper's Special Operations Intelligence background enabled unprecedented surveillance of cartel activities. His monitoring systems transforming cargo trucks into sophisticated command centers. Show me their operational security failures, Reynolds requested. Cooper brought up detailed analysis. They used consistent reconnaissance patterns, predictable communications protocols, standard cartel tactical doctrine, made it easy to track their preparation and anticipate their assault plan. The screens showed how thoroughly they had compromised cartel operations. Surveillance team movements mapped and recorded. Tactical communications intercepted and decoded. Staging areas identified and monitored. Vehicle maintenance patterns, revealing operational timelines. Even their fuel purchases indicating force movements. Agent Torres studied the tactical displays with growing appreciation. You haven't just defeated their assault force. You've completely disrupted their ability to interdict supply lines. They'll never be able to trust their tactical superiority against cargo convoys again. That was the objective, Reynolds acknowledged. Let them think civilian truckers are easy targets. Encourage them to commit their forces. Then demonstrate why combat veterans are force multipliers against conventional opponents. Through their command net, they continued monitoring the broader implications spreading through cartel leadership. The complete defeat of their massive assault force had shattered more than their tactical capabilities. It had destroyed their fundamental belief in overwhelming force as a guaranteed victory. They're pulling back all offensive operations, Cooper reported, tracking communications. Complete stand-down of tactical teams ordered. Every highway operation suspended pending review. The screens showed panic spreading through their command structure as they realized the full magnitude of their error. These weren't civilian truckers, but highly trained combat veterans who had spent careers mastering tactical warfare. The ripple effects spread through cartel operations across the region. Regional commanders demanding explanation for catastrophic failure. Tactical teams refusing highway interdiction missions. Intelligence units frantically reviewing all convoy assessments. Operations officers questioning every potential target. Even their recruiting suffering as word spread about the defeats. Boss, Cooper called out, monitoring long-range communications. Looks like they've finally identified who we really are. Cartel leadership is not happy about engaging retired special operations personnel. Reynolds allowed himself a small smile as he watched the cartel's operations dissolving into chaos. Sometimes the most effective victory was psychological rather than purely tactical. They could replace their lost gunmen and vehicles, but they could never recover their shattered confidence in highway operations. Maintain full security protocols, he instructed his team. But well done. You've just shown why experience and preparation will always beat superior numbers and firepower. The Arizona sun climbed higher as his veterans continued their vigilance. To any observer, they appeared to be simple truck drivers delivering medical supplies, but they had demonstrated why you never ambush men who had spent careers mastering the art of turning ambushes against their attackers. Sometimes the most effective tactical victories looked exactly like routine cargo delivery, right up until They reminded everyone why combat experience was the ultimate force multiplier against any odds. In a heavily guarded compound near Mexico City, Cartel Supreme Commander Eduardo Vasquez reviewed the devastating intelligence reports from Arizona. His organization's supposedly invincible tactical teams had been systematically destroyed by what appeared to be simple truck drivers. The blow to their mystique of invulnerability threatened operations across 3 countries. "Show me everything," he ordered his intelligence chief. "Every detail of how these civilians dismantled our best assault teams." But the more footage he studied, the clearer it became. These weren't civilians at all. The fluid vehicle maneuvers, interlocking fields of fire, perfect tactical positioning, it all screamed elite military training. "Find out who they really are," he commanded. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." Back in Arizona, Reynolds' team maintained their cover as routine medical supply drivers, while their sophisticated surveillance tracked the cartel's growing realization of their strategic error. Through encrypted channels, they monitored emergency meetings being convened across the organization's entire command structure. "They're finally starting to understand," Cooper reported from his monitoring station. "Complete suspension of all highway operations ordered. Full review of tactical capabilities demanded. Their entire operational doctrine is being questioned." Reynolds studied the tactical feeds with cold satisfaction. The cartel's response was exactly what they'd intended: systemic paralysis, as they confronted the reality that their supposed tactical superiority meant nothing against proper military expertise. "Show me the broader impact," he requested. Cooper manipulated the displays, revealing chaos spreading through cartel operations. Regional commanders refusing to authorize convoy attacks. Tactical teams demanding better intelligence before engaging. Target's supply line interdiction operations completely suspended, even their recruitment suffering as word spread about the defeats. "The psychological effect is devastating," Cooper explained. "They built their power on being untouchable. Now every truck on the highway is a potential death trap. They can't risk attacking shipments without knowing exactly who they're dealing with." Through their command net, they monitored the ripple effects cascading through cartel leadership. The complete destruction of their elite assault teams had shattered more than their tactical capabilities. It had broken their fundamental belief in force as the ultimate answer. "Boss," Cooper called out, tracking long-range communications. "Looks like they've finally identified our backgrounds." Cartel High Command is not happy about engaging retired special operations personnel. Reynolds allowed himself a grim smile. Sometimes the most effective victory was psychological rather than purely tactical. The cartel could replace their lost gunmen and vehicles, but they could never recover their shattered confidence in highway operations. The Arizona sun climbed higher as his veterans continued their vigilance. To any observer, they appeared to be simple truck drivers delivering medical supplies, but they had demonstrated why you never corner men who had spent careers mastering the art of tactical warfare. Final chapter. The DEA's mobile command center hummed with activity as Agent Torres reviewed 6 months of operational data. The screens told a story of cartel power crumbling across the Southwest, supply line operations paralyzed, tactical teams refusing missions, entire territories becoming effectively ungovernable as their mystique of invincibility evaporated. "FOD impact has spread far beyond Arizona," she explained to Reynolds' team. "Your victories created a cascade effect through their entire organization. They can't maintain control when every convoy is a potential death trap." Reynolds studied the tactical displays with professional satisfaction. His veterans had done more than defend medical shipments. They had fundamentally changed the dynamics of cartel operations throughout the region. "Cooper," he called to his intelligence specialist, "show me the current status." Cooper's fingers danced across sophisticated monitoring systems concealed within their command truck. The screens revealed an organization in crisis, emergency meetings, continuing across 3 countries, regional commanders unable to guarantee tactical superiority, supply line interdiction operations completely abandoned, recruitment collapsing as word spread about their defeats. "They're pulling back everything," Cooper reported. "Complete withdrawal from highway operations ordered. Their entire tactical doctrine is being rewritten." Through their surveillance network, they watched the ripple effects spreading through cartel leadership. The devastating defeat of their elite forces had shattered more than their operational capabilities. It had destroyed their fundamental belief in overwhelming force as a guaranteed victory. "Sometimes the most effective response isn't about body counts," Reynolds observed. "It's about shattering their confidence, making them question every tactical decision until they're afraid to act at all." Martinez's voice crackled through their secure communications. Multiple vehicles approaching from the south. Looks like they're recovery teams trying to salvage disabled equipment. Let them, Reynolds replied. Every burned-out truck they retrieve is another reminder of why some targets should be left alone. The Arizona stars wheeled overhead as his veterans maintained their vigilance. To any observer, they appeared to be simple truck drivers delivering medical supplies. But they had demonstrated why you never challenge men who had spent careers mastering the art of tactical warfare. Sometimes, the most effective victories looked exactly like routine cargo operations, right up until they reminded everyone why combat experience was the ultimate force multiplier against any odds. Through sophisticated surveillance, they watched the final impact of their operation rippling through cartel communications. All highway interdiction suspended indefinitely. Complete review of tactical capabilities required. Extreme caution advised regarding any convoy operations. Leadership demanding explanation for catastrophic failures. The message was clear. The cartels had learned a harsh lesson about the difference between engaging civilian targets and combat veterans. Sometimes the most devastating defeat wasn't about destroying an enemy's capabilities, but about shattering their belief in their own invincibility. Reynolds allowed himself a small smile as he watched the cartel's operations dissolving into chaos. His team had done more than protect medical shipments. They had fundamentally changed the balance of power throughout the region. Maintain full security protocols, he instructed his veterans. But well done. You've shown why experience and preparation will always triumph over superior numbers and firepower. The desert night grew quiet as his team continued their watch. To any observer, they appeared to be ordinary truckers making routine deliveries, but they had demonstrated why you never corner men who had mastered the art of turning tactical superiority against itself. Sometimes the most effective victories looked exactly like routine cargo delivery, right up until they reminded everyone why combat experience was the ultimate force multiplier against any odds.